There's a certain kind of heartbreak that doesn't come from betrayal or loss, but from slow realization. The kind where you look back at the time, effort, and emotion you poured into someone, only to realize they never cared the way you did. They never showed up for you the way you showed up for them. And what hurts most isn't just that you were used, it's that deep down, you felt it all along. You just kept hoping you were wrong. This video isn't about blaming yourself. It's about waking up. It's about recognizing the signs you ignored, the red flags you justified, and the gut instincts you silenced. Because once you truly see how someone's using you, they can never use you again. You shift from being their emotional supply to being their wake-up call. So let's break it down, piece by piece, so you never get played like this again. One of the clearest signs someone is using you is that their presence in your life is always tied to their own convenience. They don't check in unless they're low on attention, bored, lonely, or in need of emotional support. You'll notice patterns. They vanish when you need them, but suddenly reappear when they want a favor, a distraction, or a boost to their ego. It's not about you, it's about what you provide. They might disguise it as reconnecting, but there's no consistency, no mutual energy, and no genuine effort to be there for you unless there's something in it for them. And here's the trick. They'll often give you just enough crumbs of attention to keep you hanging on. They'll throw in a compliment, a flirty message, or a late-night call just when they sense you're pulling away. Not out of care, but to maintain control. If you feel like you're constantly being used for emotional labor, physical intimacy, money, or time, and the moment you stop giving, they stop showing up, that's not connection. That's exploitation wrapped in false affection. When someone genuinely cares, your needs matter. Your boundaries are respected. But when someone is only using you, your discomfort becomes an inconvenience to them. The moment you try to speak up, when you say you're not okay with something, or ask for clarity, or need emotional presence, they dodge, deflect, or even guilt trip you. They might accuse you of being too sensitive, too needy, or making things complicated, when all you're doing is expressing basic human needs. That's the manipulation. They want full access to your time, your body, your energy, but with none of the accountability. If you go silent to protect your peace, they suddenly panic. Not because they miss you, but because their supply is at risk. They'll try to gaslight you back into feeling guilty for asking for respect. That's how you know you're not being loved. You're being used. In a real connection, your boundaries are not seen as threats. They're seen as sacred. If someone treats your limits as a problem instead of a principle, they were never here for you. They were here for what they could take. One of the clearest signs you're being used is the imbalance in effort. You're the one initiating conversations, planning meetups, checking in when they're down, and offering support even when you're running on empty. But when it's your turn to need them, suddenly they're busy, distracted, or emotionally unavailable. You feel like you're constantly pouring into a cup that never overflows back into yours. And they justify it with vague excuses. I've just been going through a lot, or you know I'm bad at expressing myself. But truthfully, it's not that they can't give, they just don't want to give to you. Because the moment someone else enters their life who offers them something they desire, attention, status, money, sex, you notice how quickly they become responsive, consistent, and invested. Just not with you. That's when it hits. You were never a priority. You were a convenience. If someone wants you, you'll know. If they're using you, you'll be confused. So don't measure love by how much you give, measure it by how mutual the exchange really is. If someone only appears when it benefits them, when they're lonely, bored, broke, or going through something, they're not building a relationship with you, they're building a safety net. They disappear when things are going well in their life and suddenly resurface the moment it falls apart. You'll notice the pattern. They only text when they're sad, only call when they're in trouble, and only want to meet when it's on their terms. And when they do show up, they know exactly what to say to pull you back in. Flattery, fake vulnerability, even guilt-tripping. But once they get what they want, they vanish again. This isn't love. It's emotional opportunism. They're not interested in your well-being, your goals, or your inner world. They're interested in access. Access to your time, your energy, your resources. And every time you let them back in, it reinforces their behavior. Real connection is consistent. Real care shows up when they have nothing to gain. So ask yourself, do they call when they're full or only when they're empty? One of the clearest signs someone is using you and doesn't truly care is how they respond when they're confronted. Do they take responsibility for their behavior, or do they twist it back on you? If every time you bring up something that hurt you, they get defensive, deflect blame, or make you feel guilty for even bringing it up, that's not love, that's manipulation. They might say things like, "You're too sensitive, you're always complaining," or "Why are you making a big deal out of nothing?" These aren't just dismissive remarks, they're tactics to silence you, to avoid change, and to keep control. Someone who values you will want to understand how their actions impact you. Someone who's using you will do everything in their power to avoid that mirror. They don't care about repairing the damage. They care about maintaining access without consequences. The more you let it slide, the more they learn they never have to grow. And deep down, they're not afraid of losing you. They're afraid of losing the comfort of having you around with no effort. That's why holding them accountable isn't just necessary, it's the only way to see their true face. When someone genuinely cares, being around them should make you feel safe, seen, and emotionally refueled. But when someone is using you, it's the opposite. You walk away from every interaction feeling depleted, confused, or anxious. You constantly wonder where you stand, replay conversations in your head, and feel like you're chasing their affection or approval just to feel okay. That's not love. It's emotional labor, and you're the only one doing it. They keep you in a cycle of temporary highs and deep emotional lows, feeding you just enough warmth to keep you invested, but never enough consistency to feel secure. This imbalance is not accidental. It's control masked as affection. You're giving time, care, validation, and presence, and getting breadcrumbs in return. Pay attention. If your nervous system always feels on edge around them, if you're exhausted after spending time with them instead of fulfilled, that's your body trying to tell you the truth your heart might still be avoiding. Real connection brings peace. When you're constantly drained, that's not a bond, it's a burden dressed up in intimacy. One of the clearest signs someone doesn't truly care is their disappearance the moment you need support. When everything is fine, they show up just enough to keep the illusion of closeness alive. But the moment life gets tough, when you're stressed, vulnerable, or asking for emotional presence, they go silent. They dodge serious conversations, ghost you when you're hurting, or suddenly become too busy when it's not convenient for them to show up. That's because they were never emotionally invested in you. They were invested in what you could offer when it was easy, light, or beneficial to them. Your needs become an inconvenience, not a priority. And instead of comfort, they give you coldness, distance, or even blame. This creates a one-sided dynamic where you learn to suppress your own struggles just to keep them around. But any relationship that forces you to hide your pain to stay connected is a relationship you need to walk away from. If they only stick around for the highs but disappear during the lows, they're not your partner. They're a tourist in your life. A healthy connection should leave you feeling grounded, valued, and emotionally fueled, even when disagreements happen. But when someone is using you and doesn't genuinely care, the relationship becomes a slow emotional leak. You constantly question your worth, overanalyze their behavior, and feel like you're never doing enough. Their presence starts to exhaust you, not energize you. You're always walking on eggshells, trying to win approval or avoid rejection. That's not love, that's survival mode. If every interaction leaves you second-guessing your place in their life, you're not being loved, you're being used. Real love creates safety and reciprocity, not emotional burnout. So if you're consistently left feeling depleted, anxious, or invisible after dealing with them, it's not a phase. It's the truth speaking through your nervous system. Your body knows before your mind accepts it. Listen to that. Because when someone truly cares, they bring peace, not confusion, presence, not pressure, and connection, not consumption. One of the clearest signs someone is using you is when their attention magically appears the moment you stop giving yours. When you're available, they're distant. When you're consistent, they're careless. But the second you start pulling back, when you finally go quiet, stop chasing, or begin focusing on yourself, they suddenly miss you, check in, or act confused about the distance. This isn't love. It's control. They're not coming back because they care. They're coming back because they feel your power slipping out of their hands. It's a tug of war for dominance, not intimacy. People who only return when you pull away are addicted to the feeling of being chased, not the connection itself. And if you fall for it, the cycle resets. They'll breadcrumb you, get your attention, then disappear again once they've fed their ego. So when someone's affection is tied to your silence, not your presence, it means you were never valued, just needed for validation. Let that truth sink in. Energy doesn't lie. When someone is using you, your nervous system knows before your mind catches up. You start to feel heavy after talking to them, exhausted after seeing them, anxious before replying. That's not love. It's your body rejecting the imbalance. Real connections nourish you. They make you feel seen, safe, and strong. But when you're being used, every conversation feels like emotional labor. You're always managing their moods, walking on eggshells, or trying to prove your worth just to earn basic decency. It's a silent drain that chips away at your peace. You'll find yourself replaying their words, second-guessing your reactions, or trying to figure out what you did wrong. When in reality, you were just too available to someone who never intended to pour back into you. If you consistently feel worse after engaging with someone, that's not your fault. It's your warning. And it means it's time to stop questioning your sensitivity and start questioning their presence. If any of these signs hit home, it's not your job to fix it, justify it, or wait for them to change. It's your job to walk away with your dignity intact. Being used isn't a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their character. You were never too much, you were just too giving for someone who only knew how to take. The most powerful move you can make isn't confrontation or revenge, it's silence, distance, disinterest. Let your absence speak louder than your explanations ever could. They'll notice, they always do. And when they come back looking for the version of you they once drained, let them find peace, power, and a version of you they no longer have access to. If this message hits something real, subscribe for more. Drop a comment below if you've ever felt used and turned that pain into power. You're not alone, and you'll never be weak for caring. Just don't let the wrong people keep benefiting from it.